I don't believe in people who look and dress up like voodoo dolls, lots of makeup, who have an evil agenda of corrupting these children.
These people that are coming after us truly lack empathy and sometimes even humanity.
My worst scenario will be my kids being converted to changing their bodies.
The trans, non-binary, queer kids today need to have a role model that isn't a drag queen or a pop star, just a normal person that is living their life out and proud and being who they are.
They're not fit to be in the community. They should be in mental institutions until they get better to live with other humans.
This new old thing has taken over our society. Mockery, the relentless teardown of the other side. They're all hypocrites. They're all cowards. They're the enemy. To hell with them. The result? Relationships shattered, society split in half, with each of us taking sides. How many wonder, is there even another way? I've been a peacemaker for 20 years. There's another way. What do you think of trans people?
It's insulting to God, who is the creator of heaven and earth. He's our creator, and it's also mocking other people's culture. I think trans people have the motivation to change the world the way it is and take it to a delusional world, and not all of us are real.
Why would they want to do that?
I think they go through a lot of rejection in life.
And they change their gender in order to be accepted in the community?
Yes, maybe because the opposite sex rejected them.
What do you think of people who have these judgments of you?
I don't think you have empathy for other people that are different than you. I think the motivation comes from a place of fear that there are people that don't fit into this clear-cut man and woman.
And why would they fear that?
Because it calls into question your femininity and your view of masculinity. And if a man is not a man and a woman is not a woman, and you can be on the spectrum and it's not just one or the other, then you have to question where you fit.
So you have theories about each other's motivation.
Yeah.
And we're not testing them yet. Would your world be better off without these people?
I think that my day-to-day life would be easier. I don't think the world would be better. I don't think the world would be better without my parents. I don't think the world would be better without differing views. But it's hard not to feel that my world would be safer and trans kids' worlds would be safer if they weren't being demonized from a young age and harassed and forced into suicide.
Tell me about your nightmare scenario, your nightmare political scenario.
I've been seeing it coming, living in San Francisco, where they're trying to gayify our children. They're even calling them their children. Right now, I have what my kids are learning in school. That learning how to hate your body is going to get you into an Ivy League school. We've seen people getting jobs just because they identify as trans or LGBT, but the same community does not want to add the D for detransitioners. They don't want the D. So that's a fake life.
It's crazy to hear this in person. I know people feel this way, but it's crazy to hear it.
What would your nightmare political scenario look like?
Trans people being even forced even further into self-hatred and a closet.
I know it's hard to actually sit in this uncomfortable situation, but if you're willing, convince the other person that you're right.
We are rolling back all of these protections for kids in schools to actually have anybody to talk to about this. Where their parents think they're evil or these thoughts are wrong. We're seeing the numbers already of trans youth killing themselves.
You will never fully be a woman. The breasts are fake. You will eventually get breast cancer. You will eventually, I don't know if you had your penis removed. This is all delusional. These kids, their long life is going to be cut short because of the big pharmaceutical companies who are benefiting from mental illness. I'm sure you started taking your depression medicine, anxiety, and all this stuff. I need my kids to learn about technology, AI, medical stuff, not this garbage that is being taught in school. It's never gonna help them be a human being, a smart person. You're just gonna grow up being dumb.
Are you convinced in any way by each other?
No. No.
Yeah, never.
How do you feel about this person right now?
I live in the city,
But here's a real person. Here's a person.
Yes.
How do you feel?
Beautiful, but living a fake life. And eventually they do end up committing suicide because they don't get the happiness they're looking for.
Trans people have existed forever. You can look back in any culture and see that we have existed. People in your past, your ancestors, have been in between genders. We are always here. We're going to continue to be here. And I don't want to pretend I'm anything but a trans person.
That never existed in my culture, nor in my world growing up. I actually used to get punished for being, playing with boys rough games. Boys were boys.
Because they were punished for doing anything else. Do you see how we're
putting lipsticks and all that? You will get punished because that's girl stuff.
But you were playing roughhouse with boys and you weren't allowed to do that. Was that fair?
It was, because it shaped me. They were showing me about femininity. I was being groomed to be a wife, a woman, and not a tomboy. Just a man. I was not being groomed to be a man. You're literally a genetically modified man. You're fake.
Every single person is shaped by hormones.
Yes.
You are shaped by hormones as a
Yes.
child. How do you know what my brain was like? There's been studies on trans people's
Fake
brains
studies because they get funded by big pharmaceutical companies.
So do you think trans and gay people should be killed?
They should not, but they should have the right information of being who they are,
Not being who they are.
No, of who they should be, who they are.
You should tell them who they should be.
Not the real
Who makes the
story.
rules on who is who?
When you talk to the Americans who love and patriotic, MAGA, they just want to make America great. They never used to have this nonsense.
This is a really good place to transition, okay? I give you guys a lot of credit for going through this conversation because it ain't easy to be in either seat. And I want to point out this kind of conversation is not convincing probably anybody who's not already on your side. So I want to have a different conversation and we'll see where it goes. So I'm going to ask, press emotional reset, and let's try to meet this person differently. Tell the other person about what's beautiful in your world. That's going to convey something about you. What is really moving, important, beautiful in your world?
What I feel that is more beautiful in my life is my children. Just the gift of being pregnant, feeling this, the baby kicks, and just looking at the whole world, how God created us with, the ability of having a body that can like a kangaroo pouch, hide your baby there, just give birth, the pain, and giving my children who are born here the opportunity to thrive and just experience the American dream.
What outside of your immediate family, what else is beautiful to you?
I have amazing friends. A lot of them are moms. I am with Moms for America. I am surrounded by a lot of serial Trumpers who have opened my eyes to a lot of things I never knew about America.
So what's beautiful in your world? And maybe it is Trump and Moms for America moves you, but where you'd wake up and if it was your last day, you'd say, God, thank goodness for this in my world. And my guess is political connections are not what you'd say on your last day.
I lost my mom to breast cancer, and I started making knitted prosthetics and donating to women in the villages. The name of the organization is Limao Cancer Connection. You don't have a boob, I used to give you a boob. You don't have a friend when you're going through chemo, we'll connect you with friends.
Why do you do that?
I come from a very philanthropic family where my mom used to come with produce from the village, rent a car, and carry food for the homeless and people who didn't have food. So we are always very giving, people who don't have anything. So,
why is that bringing emotion to you?
Because by the time she was dying, nobody was there for her. The community judged her with losing her breasts. So they stigmatized her. And because they felt like, they'll catch breast cancer every time they'll be with her. And they showed up at her funeral, but they were not there for her when she was suffering for this whole year.
So I'm imagining that as you hear this and like this deep care for other people, you're thinking something like, wow, not for my people.
Yeah, I would ask why that's not extended. Why is a cis woman losing her breast different than a trans woman not having them?
Cancer is a disease. Transgender is cosmetic.
And I imagine that's somewhat painful.
Yeah, I'm used to feeling excluded.
Do you have any questions about what she finds beautiful in the world?
Personal questions?
Yeah, about what she finds beautiful, and not to prove a point of yours, but curiosity about her life.
Who are the majority of your family, friends? Are they people in the LGBT community?
A large part of my friends are straight and cis, and I find that as I continue to live my life as a woman, I have more in common with women who date men than with the gay communities. Most of the time, I actually just don't feel gay. I'm a woman who loves a man and wants a family.
So your boyfriend is a straight man?
Yes. He's never dated anybody outside of cis women before.
Cis means, do you know what cis means?
It means that your birth sex matches your gender identity, how you feel inside.
All right.
So basically anybody that's not trans.
Okay. So why do we need to learn all this?
Well, it's easier than saying somebody born a certain way that feels a certain way.
I feel like it's unfair because why do they have transition using my taxpayers' dollars?
So what I'd like is for each of you to have an opportunity to be known. Okay. And part of you being known is that you have concerns about your kids. That's where these questions are coming from. But right now, if you're asking questions, what I'd love for it to be is because you're interested in Eve as the person. And vice versa. Share with the other person what has been the hardest experience.
I'm struggling to make ends meet, but the government is using money, taxpayers' money, to transition people.
Why is this this particular experience the hardest in your life? I want to make sure that we're not each, in this moment, trying to make a persuasive case.
The hardest thing for me, honestly, is just being scared about my children's future.
Okay. And you know, something I didn't ask you to do before, if you're willing to, because it might be easier to just speak as people, is if you're okay with taking your hat off.
I didn't even comb my hair. I can wrap my African thing. I mean, if it's gonna...
Yeah, why don't you try that?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. What do you call this?
Oh, the head wrap? It's just a head wrap. Like, we call it like
it's traditional, right?
Lesso, yeah.
Lesso.
Yeah. So
how do you feel wearing it?
It's my crown as a woman, as an African woman. We were taught how to cover our hair, especially when we're praying to God. It's just a sign of respect.
I'd like to go back to part of a conversation about the hardest experience that you've had. And in both, these could be related to trans, but I suspect that's not the hardest if we're really to understand you as a human being.
My children's father, he took my children away from me, where he refused for me to come to America with them. They were born here. And so 8 years of not living with my children and having to travel to Kenya every year, and then having a mom who was battling breast cancer, using all my savings to help her, you know, access cancer care. He was very mean, where he had all these girlfriends and will make them be like stepmoms, where I'll literally beg to see my children. Sometimes I'll travel home, he'll refuse. And so I think it was the trauma of mommy's gone, I don't have my kids.
And then losing her, and then losing your kids at the same time.
Yeah.
And you never want to go back to that place.
It's the only thing I have left. And the weaponization of the education is taking me back. Yeah. So I just don't wake up to fight just for nothing. There's no point of living if I don't have my kids. Whether it's through dead naming, whether it's them living fake life.
What do you imagine you'd be experiencing if your kids said to you, I'm trans?
A lot of sadness. I think I'll be on drugs to help me just numb my pain.
Because why? What's the pain about?
Because I know who's making profits out of it.
That's not the pain. That's you looking at the outside world and being angry. But why are you experiencing pain?
I failed as a mom. Failure.
Why?
Because I did not point them to the right direction.
They're not going to be happy?
We're talking about permanent surgeries. Right now, the government sponsors. Eventually, they come back and tell me, Mom, it was a mistake. Why does the government come and takes away my children? Why? And weaponize the kids against their parents.
So there's different pieces in this. There's the piece about them suffering that I'm hearing, and that I get, I can feel it for you. Whether you're right or not is another issue.
Right.
But that's your sincere concern. But what about the loss of them?
I will not lose the person, but I'll lose the child that I always wanted to raise. I think I'll just have like a walking shell. That
the person you know won't be there anymore?
Right.
That they'll still be a person, but they won't be the person you know.
Exactly.
And that will feel like them going away, them dying.
Yeah. They just will not be existing.
I want to ask you the same question.
The hardest experience of my entire life was telling my parents how I've felt since I was a child. Telling my parents that every birthday cake I blew out, I wished I was a girl. Since I was a young child, I knew that they wouldn't accept who I am. And I prayed every night for it to go away. I waited for God to take away these feelings. I went to church, I prayed, I read the Bible, and I waited as long as I could. I waited until I was 24, and these feelings never stopped. And I told my parents, and I was met with rejection and hate and revulsion. My dad called me an abomination, and he screamed at me, "You will never be a woman." And in that moment, I knew I was an abomination. I had read the Bible. I had heard my dad talk about trans people and gay people and talk how much he hated me without knowing who I was. And yet I couldn't help but tell him how I felt and lose my entire family.
What was it like to lose your family?
Just a constant nagging pain of being pushed away by the people that I care about the most. And I don't want to be trans. I don't want this life. I wanted to be a man. I tried to be a good boy. I tried. And it reached the point where I couldn't take it. And I got the things together to commit suicide. I mean, I loved my dad and I loved my mom. My dad was my best friend. And to have him look me in the eye and just tell me he hates this person that I am it shattered my entire world.
You told them and they had this your dad had this reaction, and there you are.
Yeah.
How does it end? Does your dad walk away? Do you walk away?
I just remember sitting across the room from both my parents, crying and wanting to be held. This was the start of my parents not loving me anymore for who I am. I knew it was the start of that. I saw in their eyes that they no longer knew me or wanted me because I was now somebody different than who they wanted me to be.
Yeah, sorry about everything you had to go through. Have you put yourself in their position?
I know for a fact that my parents chose this reaction out of a sense that this was for my own good. They are out of touch with the reality that this is beyond a phase or it's beyond programming. But I have reached out to my parents more times than I can count.
Why?
Because I love them. It's been over 10 years. I know that I'm not a cis woman. I know I can't have a baby. I know this every time that me and my boyfriend talk about wanting to have a family. I am assaulted with the fact that I am not a woman every day. And yet, I can't help but feel that I am. And every day I wake up and look in the mirror, and no matter what anybody else tells me, I hear that my dad knows that I will always be a man. It's my best friend, it's my father, it's the person who showed me how to be kind and love other people. And yet when it comes to me being myself, he couldn't extend that love to his child. And that's what hits the hardest, is knowing that their belief in their specific idea of their religion is more important than me as their child. I have a question for you, Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to know that I have a small idea of what it's like to lose a mother. And it's small. It's nothing like yours. My mother is not dead. but she has made herself dead to me. And there's a special place in the world for mothers, and I feel called to be a mother. It won't be to my genetic child, and I know how important and special that relationship is, and I'm really sorry that that happened to you.
Thank you. I just feel very sad for his parents, and that's why I'm trying to really prevent to being there. If we don't intervene right now.
So you have this fundamental belief, whether it's correct or not, that something could have been done so that Eve didn't end up in this place.
Yeah. I mean, I still wish that were the case. I don't want to be trans. Who would pick this? Who would want to do this? Who would want, like, it's unreal. The amount of hate that I've received from people who don't know me, the amount of hate that I've received from my parents and all of my friends and family, short of 1 or 2 people.
It's sad, like, why?
It's a loss of that whole gift.
Yeah, we deserve happiness. So, how did we get here? Was God wrong?
I don't know how we got here. I went to a private Christian school. I had Bible class. My grandfather was a preacher. My mom was the principal at the school that I went to. Every teacher that I went to school with was handpicked by my mom. I grew up in every member of my family and friends all went to the same church. I was popular in high school. I mean, not the most popular because I was Christian, honestly. I didn't go to parties and do drugs or anything. I was very religious, and that separated me from people in high school. But I did not have a problem. Girls loved me. I was very attractive. I had friends. I played sport every season. And I still had these feelings the entire time.
I mean, I've been thinking of taking my kids to private Christian school, so that's not gonna be a solution.
And I didn't even have the internet.
Right.
I didn't even know what being gay was.
We're gonna transition to another part of the conversation in a moment, but I also want to ask you both, what has been the best experience of your life? Where you were the happiest?
We need some happy times right now.
Right. My kids coming to America, I think I celebrated so hard. And I reconnected with God at another level. I was in Kenya, in a place called Nanyuki, which faces Mount Kenya. When we always believe Mount Kenya is Mount Zion in the Bible. So my girlfriend turns around and says, "You look so sad." I said, "I'm going back to the US next week. I've been here for a couple of months. I've been doing this for 8 years." And I said, "I'm tired. I'm tired of every time I visit. I go home without my kids." So my friend told me, "Why don't you face her? Tell her what you want." And I was like, "Face who?" "Like the mountain." And she's like, the freedom fighters used to face the mountain and they'll tell God we're hungry and God will give us rain. And I said, "God, I just want my kids back. I want my kids in America with me. If you're a God that hears, just hear me out." And I don't know, for some reason, I just felt a lot of peace after that. I had to go visit my kids at school, kiss them bye, until the following year. I've gone back to America to make money so I can be able to come back and give them a vacation. I was living a very meaningless life. A month later, after I came back, I get a call from their dad saying, "You can have the kids. My businesses they're not doing very well." 3 months later, my children were here.
So that was kind of like a concentrated hope of kind of eternal connection to your kids.
Yeah. And I feel like God had to make me go through this experience for me to be an example to other people or to be able to advocate. And the parents who live every day with their kids, they don't understand the pain. It's like you never know what you have until you lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. So same question for you, Eve.
My happiest moment was being surrounded by family, but not my blood family. On my 30th birthday, which was 5 years ago now, I was at a music festival. There was music playing and all of my friends were around and they all gave me a hug together. And it was feeling the warmth of genuine love. They loved me for me. I never thought I'd feel it again after my family rejected me. I never thought I'd feel loved and welcomed by a group of people that know me deeply. That was my happiest moment of my life, hands down.
It seems obvious to me, your painful moments are loss of that deepest connection to the ones you love. And your happiest moment is that that experience is over.
We kind of have this similar stories. When I speak like this, I want people to accept me. When she speaks, she wants people to accept her and not put her in a box that we want to put her. You know, I think our ancestors were very smart when they say, do not lose your identity. Just be who you are and take your culture wherever you go.
In my life, one of the biggest lessons is learning that you can't be somebody you're not.
It's interesting you both have that as a lesson in very different ways.
Yeah.
Very different ways.
Mine is regardless of culture, regardless of tradition, you die as one person and that person is who you have to be true to.
Where we were, where we started, was distance. The other person is very different than me. And where we've gone so far is, who are you? Who are you as a person? And we're going to go a little bit deeper into that. Why are you doing this project? There are a lot of people who wouldn't, particularly on an issue like this.
I have a personal story. My mother took her last breath while I was driving across the Golden Gate Bridge. She died on my ear. And I said, Mom, you're dying. She just said, yes, we're very, very faintly. She was in Kenya. She was coughing uncontrollably. I think the breast cancer had reached her lungs. The nurse gave her the phone at the back of the ambulance, and she took her last breath. I was driving on top of the Golden Gate Bridge coming from Auckland, heading back to San Francisco. I've been a bridge to a lot of people, and I feel like that's my purpose in life. So I wanted to do this because maybe I'm a bridge to some parents who also have the same fear as I am. Can we love and extend our love to people like Eve who deserve love? Extend our compassion to her parents who, up to now, I can't imagine how they sleep.
I have a very similar reason for being here. A lot of the rhetoric pointed at us is scary, and a lot of us are killed. If not suicide, it's the other. And as somebody that has strength and is very lucky in life, I feel called to be a voice. I think it's especially important for young trans people to see. I want to connect people, and I know that I didn't know what a trans person was, and I was one. And that's a tough place to be in.
You know, the similar life thing is, for me, so interesting because I've done this with lots of different folks. These people who, view themselves on the opposite side of this thing, whatever their thing is. And this is obviously a powerful one. Just kind of live very similar lives. Like, almost like they'd, if not for these thoughts about each other, they'd be in each other's lives. What I'd like to ask you now, what you believe the other person or the other side does not understand about you fully, or your side. So who is willing to hear first, to listen?
I want to listen. I want to hear.
I want you to understand, as a trans woman, I just want to be normal. I don't want to come for anything else. I don't want to take anything away or make anybody do anything they don't want to do or don't feel comfortable with. Trans people do not need much. Just the same care and respect that you would give to any other human.
You said you don't need anything, but you need my approval.
No. I don't need your approval. And I don't need your acceptance, even. I would love it, but I ask for respect to exist in the same world and chase after the same goals.
You have all the rights to be loved, to exist, and nobody should make you feel less of a human.
That feels good to hear you say that.
I want to switch. What do you want Eve, or someone like Eve, people on that side, to understand?
I want the trans community to understand my fear, my children, and anything that is going to deviate them from my role as a mom. The trans community has been very aggressive in terms of their advocacy, and where we're coming in as parents is staying away from the children.
I'm hearing that you are afraid that trans people are going to force a wedge in between you and your children. Yes. And force them to be something they're not.
Indoctrinate.
I was indoctrinated, I understand. But I was indoctrinated with the Bible.
By saying you were indoctrinated with the Bible and that you understand, maybe you're meaning to offer some understanding, but it's not going to feel like it on the other side.
Okay. You are saying that you fear that this movement of trans people and genderqueer and LGBT movement is going to force your kids onto a path of harm?
Yeah, because remember, my children are Africans and they have a culture, they have a heritage. When my children were coming to America, my dad told them, do not leave your culture, never forget where you come from.
So this is in service or out of care for your father?
One of the younger son carries his name.
What if that breaks? I want to understand the consequence.
It breaks the lineage.
And what's the problem with that?
It's a curse. A lot of people who have done that, they die mysteriously. They live very bad lives. There's a very famous guy called Brian Chirac. And he did face a lot of ridicule from the community, which I was feeling sad. He was a gay boy. He just wanted to be accepted. And when he died, out of a motorbike accident, the grandfather refused to have him get buried in the land because it was a curse.
And doom them and your family as a whole and split you apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is she understanding you?
Yes.
And what's that like?
I mean, it feels good to just understand the emotions. By the end of the day, it just All of us are coming from a point of love, humanity, and we've been so divided in the modern world. So it feels good when someone looks at the world through my eyes.
She brought something, and I want to share it with you, not to convince you of anything.
Sure.
Okay? But just so you can see what she believes is an assault.
So this is what I came across my children. My 15-year-old, he learned this when he was 14, just getting into the first semester for his 9th grade. He came and told me, "Mom, they're showing porn in school." It was a movie of 2 boys kissing, all that. And the subject was sex education. He had come from Kenya, and he's a teenager where the hormones are all over. He's trying to get a sense of belonging and not be separated from his friends, his new friends. And he was rushing out of this to go to school, and a bunch of these papers fell. And I said, "Oh, let me see." And I almost lost my mind. The paper is called Sex Unit Terms.
So the terms that the kids are asked to understand both definitionally and in different scenarios is sexual orientation, sexual preference, gay, lesbian, straight, bisexual, queer, bicurious, gray sexual, demi-romantic, demisexual, down low, drag king, drag queen, emotional attraction, polyamorous, pansexual, aromantic, FTM, F2M, MTF, M2F, gender binary, gender fluid, gender nonconforming, homophobia, intersex, MSM, meaning men, sex men, WSW, meaning women, sex women, transgender, questioning, allies, two-spirited, advocate, androgyny, androsexual, asexual, bigender, biological sex, biphobia, cisism, cissexism, closeted, coming out, cross-gender, gender expression, heteronormativity, and sceliosexual.
Even just being as a religious person, but like with your background on top of that, I can see so many of those being incredibly problematic for you.
And that it's public school.
Yeah.
And that she can't bring her children out of public school because she doesn't have the resources to do that.
Yeah. I can see how that's terrifying.
There's an app the kids are told to use where they can meet gay and trans partners. Grindr.
They talk about that in school?
Yeah, they're given those options and meeting them at the park.
You feel that you're losing the ability to parent your children and they're being parented from their school instead.
I think that you connected deeply. Those words really resonated for you, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
We are used to using very strong words fighting the people who are taking away our parental rights and clustering people like Eve who love who they are, in the same boat. And so, I don't see her as evil. But when I'm doing my advocacy, that's the word that I use.
Yeah.
But it's not supposed to be used on her.
I feel like we're both being trampled together on different sides.
Yep.
We're both being used as the enemy. I think you have every right to raise your children exactly how you feel with whatever history and ancestry and religion that you deem necessary. And that makes me really sad to hear. I didn't really know that.
Yeah, spiritually, emotionally. And I've seen the consequences of parental curse. And every day I pray to God and I say, God, don't let it happen. They deserve a good life. I want to be the best mom. And that's my legacy.
Okay. I want to ask Eve, and then we're going to move to another piece of this. Mm-hmm. Is there more that you'd like her to understand?
I think what I want you to understand from my point of view is that I was never happy until I accepted who I was.
Meeting Eve, she's a human who wants to be who she wants to be. And I would drink from the same cup as her. I don't see her like this demon that, has been created. But the agenda has just been wrong. You live in the city?
I'm about to move to San Francisco.
I mean, that's the best.
I can't wait. Do you go to Outside Lands?
Yeah, I love it. So I love the events. I love this vibrancy of the city, but I do enjoy my own quiet time reading and watching movies and stuff. So it's been just a transition, and I love the weather.
Oh yeah.
San Francisco is the only city I can wear boots the whole entire year.
Always dress cute.
Yeah.
You can always wear a little jacket. Like you get to wear layers. It's incredible. Yeah, it's great.
Are you still grounded in praying?
I still pray. I still believe in God. I probably would say I don't believe in the same God as my parents. I don't believe in the God that, told the Israelites to rape and pillage. I believe in Jesus' message. It's about love, and it's about acceptance.
Just wondering, who is this God? What does he really want?
In this last exercise, the goal is to bring you even deeper into each other's experience. That's why you're sitting in each other's seats. And what you're going to do is you're going to speak on the other person's behalf. You're going to present what they want the other side to hear. I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm just asking you to occupy those beliefs for a moment and to feel what it feels like. Again, you're not here to be persuaded. My hope is that you each leave with the passion that you had, at least about why it matters to you. Who is willing to essentially play the other person for a moment first?
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll go first. I would like Eve to hear and understand that as a parent, I have a right to my history and my culture and my religion. I feel stuck and trapped knowing that I don't get to be the person that raises my child, and I don't want them turning into something that they are not.
What I hear you, Nancy, saying is that you want to be in total control of what your children are learning in school.
I believe it is a curse and a generational death sentence in a way, in order if they are forced on a path that they did not choose. I'm concerned that my kids in a vacuum would be straight and on the path that I put for them. I want my kids to be educated and know options. I don't want them to be tricked.
So you want transparency with no sneaky games?
I would do anything to protect them and myself from any more loss, because I can't take it anymore. I don't want any more suffering in my family and any more loss.
This is the only thing she has left in life that gives her meaning to live.
So I want to switch roles. Eve, what do you feel like they don't fully understand?
we are born different, and we are still humans regardless of who we choose to be, and we deserve love and respect from the community and our family.
You've said people are born different and they don't have a choice in the matter.
With everything that I have gone through, I attempted suicide because I was not accepted by people who claimed to love me. I would have preferred to have my family spend birthdays with me. I miss them.
Wow. So you can see the impact you're having.
I turned into creativity where I make money through my emotions and making the world, painting the world to be the world that I want to live in, and making people happy, and it's been the best therapy ever. I'm in a loving relationship. I have a new community of people who understand me. I miss my parents, and I wish they will change that.
But you still want that love from them and acceptance from them.
I don't want anything. All I need is to just see me as a person and not here to cause any harm.
You're saying you just want to exist as a person. You don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want to change anybody. You just want love and acceptance for who you are.
I was raised to be a good person, and that's who I am today.
Is she understanding you?
Yes.
And have you been understood?
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch back to your own seat. So now you're yourself again. There were two parts to that experience. One is you embodied the other person. The other part of the experience is that you watched the other person play you. What did you think about that experience?
I think it was good to just understand where Eve is coming from. When I first came, I thought she'll just give me the same narrative as what we see on YouTube. You know, she just comes from the perfect family. Mommy, dad, boy, girl, it's the Holy Trinity. I felt proud of Eve. She's done so much to be who she is today. The only missing puzzle, I think, if the parents loved her and accepted her. She's now an adult, and so for how long are the parents going to inhabit this hostility towards her?
What was it like for you to observe Eve playing Nancy?
She got it. She got me. I think with the strong cultural views and the religion.
And what was that like, to be gotten by somebody who at the beginning seemed so separate from you, so
Right.
distant from you?
I wish we had more people like her on the advocacy front line. Maybe we'll not be having all this division. She understands my fears and what I want. It was a good experience just seeing the world through her eyes.
Okay, thank you. So same questions for you.
Yeah, I mean, when you first came in with the Trump hat, I was ready for you to tell me how much you hated me just for existing, just for being a person at all, you know, the amount. And then to hear your story and know where you're coming from to be where you are. And then to play you, it brought it all together. Those fears and that anger really came to light a lot more when I understood who you were and how important your culture is in your child's lives, and to feel the powerlessness of somebody who is supposed to be the most impactful person in your child's life, I understand you, and it makes sense why you feel the way you do.
And what was it like to have Nancy play you?
It was really powerful for me. And you got where I'm coming from. I could see that you saw me as a person like you and with similar feelings and connections to our family. And you're afraid of losing your kids, and I am saddened by losing my family. It's the same hurt in a different way, and it was really powerful.
What do you think of the other person?
Oh, she's beautiful. She's smart, empathetic, compassionate, very well educated, and not mentally ill.
Thank you,
and not evil.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I apologize for the words that I used. It's terrible to just, label and demonize people when you don't even know their story. I think if I found people being mean at her, I think I'll be the biggest advocate.
I see an extremely resilient and strong woman who fought such an uphill battle in her entire life, doing things that most people wouldn't have the strength to do. And I see a mother that is fierce. You are more open to empathizing to people than I thought you would be. I feel like wearing that hat, you're demonized as well. It's hard to do that when you see the person and who they are.
The other thing I see in Eve is the inner child in her just wants the hug and the love back. So how can she get her parents back, and how can the parents get their child back?
So she really gave you a gift in some ways.
Yeah.
This is a person who shares your parents' beliefs in some ways.
Yeah.
And has really seen you.
Yeah.
What wisdom can you share, having been through this, with people in the audience?
Pick up that call and make amends. If you don't call right now, it will be a telephone to heaven on either side. We never know about tomorrow. Today, I wish I could talk to my mom to let that go away.
Thank you.
This experience has shown me that, we don't have to be so divided, because behind the pride flag, behind the Trump hat, there is a person with a family who has love. And I think that we can be ambassadors of love rather than hate. And I feel the love, and I want to just share it. And I'm glad it was us.
Right.
I'm called the peacemaker because I'm the person in this role. You guys are obviously the peacemakers, right? You had a lot to lose by being here, and you put it out there for other people, really. For your kids, for other kids, for trans youth who you care about, for other people who might go through this. I did not know how this would go, right?
I didn't know either.
So I've been through a bunch of these, and this is deeply personal. So I wondered, I thank you both.
To a better world.
To a better world.
Yeah.
Nancy,
Yeah.
can I give you a hug?
Yes, thank you so much. You were amazing.
Partisans on both sides are going to watch this video. Some are going to be angry. They'll think their woman was manipulated. In understanding the other side, she was basically tricked into condoning their evil. Most of us, though, will be inspired by these women. We're so tired of hating and being hated. Tired of our media and leaders telling us the other side is morally corrupt. tired of all the little wars that consume us and build nothing. Yeah, we've each chosen a side, but how we long for a different way. Today, Nancy and Eve showed us something remarkable. The other side isn't even remotely who we think they are.